Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. I hope the weekend treated you well. Absolute pleasure to connect with you through this platform. My name is Jerry Miller. We have a fantastic program lined up for you. Cynthia Hash is in studio. We're going to spotlight her entrepreneurial journey in real estate, her passions, her hobbies, her interests, what she loves about Charlottesville and Central Virginia. We will also spotlight the Mitchell Hash Foundation. It's a nonprofit that she launched that offers support to veterans as they assimilate themselves back into the communities after serving our country heroically. Cynthia unfortunately lost her son Mitchell to suicide, and as a result of that, she has started the Mitchell Hash Foundation to do her part to make veterans' assimilation into the communities something a little bit more seamlessly and a bit easier. We're excited to talk with Cynthia about a number of things on the program. We would like to give some attention and some kudos and some props to some of our sponsors. VMV Brands is an advertising agency. We've been doing it for 11 years. And one of our favorite clients is Interstate Pest and Service Companies. We manage all aspects of their brand, and we love working with them because they're passionately committed to making Central Virginia and the Commonwealth better. This business started in 1969 with the first generation. His name was Mr. Robert Bobby Wells. And Mr. Wells had one truck, and he had sweat equity, and he had a dream to build a business with his personal truck. In 1969, he would go to his first client, his first home. He would service them successfully. And then in 1969, find the closest payphone where he would call his second customer and say, "May I come to your house now?" Today, Interstate Pest and Service Companies has almost 100 employees, has a Commonwealth-wide footprint. It's a 4-generation strong family business with the headquarters on Harris, right around the corner from Bodo's Bagels, an office in Richmond, and an office in the Shenandoah Valley. We salute entrepreneurial journeys like Interstate because we understand how difficult it is to be a small business owner. We understand that running a business and making the community better can also work hand in hand like Interstate is doing. We also give a lot of attention and some kudos and some props to Dr. Scott Wagner, one of our favorite clients. Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine has your back, and that's through chiropractic care, physical therapy, or sports medicine. Thank you, Dr. Wagner, for being a part of this program. So Judah Wickower is our director. He keeps the spaceship from going out of orbit and staying on track to its destination. All I have to do is be myself in front of this microphone, which I enjoy connecting with entrepreneurs. I think, Judah, we should go to the studio cam, and we should welcome Cynthia to the program. First, I'll start by saying hello, Cynthia. Thank you for joining us.
Jerry, thank you very much for having us.
Our pleasure. Absolutely our pleasure. We start every show with what we call kind of the birth story or the origin story. I try to spotlight and humanize and localize and personalize all our guests through their hobbies, their passions, and their interests. So why don't we start there, Cynthia?
Well, it's hard to start when I'll be 60 this year, so it's kind of hard to start that far back. So I'm just going to start at when we moved to Charlottesville, and because I was from the Washington, D.C. area, and moved to Charlottesville in '81. And my husband and I have been married for 39 years.
Nice.
Yeah. And he actually works for me at Find Homes team at Keller Williams Alliance. And he also is very passionate about the Mitchell Hash Foundation because of what we do for the community. And it was something that we decided by intervention, divine intervention, quite frankly. So that being said, I've been in the real estate business for about 20 years, actually 40 if you include my jobs before that, all in real estate. So very much appreciate the help from you and trying to keep me from not being too nervous here.
Well, you're doing a great job. Jojo Robinson says hello. Your team members are watching, like
Jojo.
John Craig, and Brittany's watching. Sandy Fuel, the automotive titan's watching right now. Jojo says Cynthia is one of the most hardworking people I know. She does all she can to help with anti-suicide efforts in our community. Guys, if you'd like to relay any comments, put it in the chat boxes or the comment feeds of any of the Facebook pages you're watching. John Craig says, "You're the best. Promise you have nothing to be nervous about." My wife and I also work together in this business.
Good.
She is at home with our 16-month-old.
Oh,
She has
congratulations.
a laptop on one knee, doing payables and receivables and project management. She has Trey, our son, on the other knee. So I'm definitely going to pick your brain about what it's like to work with your significant other, because it's no easy task.
It isn't. You're right.
I'm going to try to get some advice from you. What is it about Charlottesville that you love?
Oh, probably one of my favorite things is and it's not one in particular. I think it's a big picture kind of thing, and that is I feel as though Charlottesville is a small town, but it entertains you like a big city.
Well said.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So I feel also the small town portion of it is everybody's pretty friendly. You know, you can walk down the downtown mall and catch somebody's eye and they smile. Yet on the big city, you've got, John Paul Jones and, just really cool things going on at the downtown mall and things like that you can plug in as well with the education with UVA. Our son, by the way, graduated UVA when he
UVA
came
too.
back. Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
He was a mechanical engineer. Yep. Had quite a bright future. We just had no idea.
Charlottesville and Central Virginia gets its hooks in you
Kind of does.
very quickly. I came here in 2000 as a first year. Have now been here 19 years this month.
Good.
Knew immediately this was going to be home. For you, when did you start realizing that Charlottesville was home for you?
Oh my goodness, just to get out of the DC traffic was enough for me.
For quality of life?
Yes, for
Yeah.
quality of life. And the views, no matter where you go, there's something pretty to look at here. I will say that when Mitchell was in the Marine Corps, he said, goodness, in South Carolina, and complaining a little bit about the town, and I was like, well, Parris Island is what Parris Island is, but at the same time, you grew up in one of the best cities in the country, and it's been voted in many times the best place to retire, or one of, top 10 best places to retire, or top 5 places to raise your children, or all these things. So it really made a difference when he was traveling all over the place as a Marine. He could tell the difference. And so that's why I like Charlottesville.
Clarine Eberly says, hi, Cynthia, you're absolutely awesome.
Thanks, Clarine.
Give it a like and a share on any of the 7 channels you're watching. That would mean the world to us. Sherry Cotton, welcome to the program. Thank you kindly for joining us. Chris Jensen of Real Estate 3 is watching now.
Chris.
Love you, Chris. Chris is great people. Charlottesville got so much attention from publications like the Huffington Post and the USA Today and all these national, heck, some global publications were calling it the best city, the happiest city in America. And before you know it, and it's almost a catch-22, and I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay.
As someone who owns an advertising agency, having all this countrywide and global attention was great for business. The economy was humming. We had people coming in off the street looking to launch businesses or take their business to another level. I would imagine, as someone who runs a real estate team, having money from the Northeast, where perhaps the earning potential is greater, coming down to south of the Mason-Dixon line to Charlottesville with that earning potential after selling their homes, and used to say like a 2,000 square foot home being 850,000. And now a 4,000 square foot home could be 500,000 or whatever it may be. You get what I'm saying. That's great for business. The catch-22 of this is it started flooding the market with so many people. Charlottesville went from this kind of more intimate community to more cosmopolitan. Cost of living went up.
It did.
Cost of single-family detached went up. Got more competitive. Throw that entire topic to you of how you saw the evolution of these national publications impacting the marketplace.
Oh my, I think, and that is a big question, very big question. I think that if you were to kind of put it all in a nutshell, it would be the fact that number one, taxes are much lower here than they would be in the northeast, far northeast states. Here, they can not only buy a little bit cheaper, but the taxes are a fraction of the taxes that they would suffer through real estate. On the other hand, and I'm gonna toss it back at you for a second. On the other hand, I can have people that are coming from Alabama or Georgia or Tennessee or places like that,
And they're startled.
and they are like, "Oh, it's a culture shock because
They think it's Virginia.
it's just the opposite."
Right.
Yes, and so they go, "Wow, Charlottesville's really expensive," but it's Virginia. Charlottesville's probably the second most expensive, second or third most
Outside
expensive
of Northern
place
Virginia, right?
Outside of Northern Virginia,
Right.
But at the same time, there's a reason for it, because this like little hub between bumpy mountains makes it desirable. And so not only views and beautiful, and good people, but also the fact that the Charlottesville is a mixture. It's like it's like a piece of heaven in a way. We do have a lot of people that are coming in from different countries. My son-in-law had got his naturalization, went through the naturalization ceremony, and there was like 30 different countries represented here. It was unbelievable. We got to take his little, he and my daughter's daughter, 5-year-old, out of school for this, and so that he was so nervous, but that was representative of the melting pot that Charlottesville actually is, which we like, because if you go to our church, Covenant Church, it is it's just a picture of heaven. You have all different cultures and races and just beautiful people that are there. And so that's what Charlottesville is.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
I think it's very descriptive. You're getting a lot of kudos from folks that are watching, like Michael Whitlock. I love the work you're doing, Cynthia. Always thinking of you. Karen Moore, so nice to see you, Cynthia. You're doing awesome things. Julie Weaver, Cynthia is my absolute hero. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams that you're watching. Welcome Jay Wine in Keswick, Bellamy Round, who's running for City Council, Jacob Conley, Danielle Morris. A lot of folks watching right now. I love this town for so many reasons. I love a lot of the aspects you said. I love the cosmopolitan feel of Charlottesville, yet it still has intimacy. I love the outdoors. Mm-hmm. I bleed orange and blue, especially sports. I love UVA sports. What Tony Bennett is doing is amazing.
Oh, yes.
Love the downtown mall.
Mm-hmm.
I love as a businessman that in some ways Charlottesville and Central Virginia are insulated from national trends because of the influence and impact of the University of Virginia and large employers like CFA and State Farm. I love that you can get from pretty much any place in Charlottesville in about 15 or 20 minutes, depending on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the open-mindedness of Charlottesville. Where I'm going with this is I think it's just a fabulous place for me and my wife to raise our son, and hopefully one day, and it's no pressure to him, I just want him to be happy and do what he wants. But if he ever wants to take over the real estate or the business, certainly can do it. Where I'm going with this is since I've had our son, he's 16 months old, my perspective on life has changed so much.
Children do that.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
the best, hardest thing ever.
Mm-hmm. You know the Peace Corps, right?
What's that?
So the Peace Corps, you know what I always say?
What's that?
Motherhood is the hardest job you'll ever love. And, the Peace Corps is the hardest job you'll ever love.
That's their tagline?
That's their tagline. I think it used to be a long time ago. And so, but I was, you can say parenthood is the toughest job you'll ever love.
Well, I'll straight up say it. Moms are rock stars. Dads cannot do what moms do.
And vice versa.
I truly mean this. You and all the moms out there, superheroes. Like this instinctual patience and love and spirit. And, you know, we wanted to highlight because September is Suicide Prevention Month.
Yes.
I'll start open-ended. The Mitchell Hash Foundation.
Open-ended. Okay. Well, I must say that there is no grief that can be described as deep as that is. He was 28 years old, had a bright future, good-looking guy. Sorry, but yeah, and you know he was just loved by a lot of people. I can't tell you what that actually feels like. Your whole body is just totally affected. It's I've never been the same. My husband's never been the same. Our daughter's never been the same. The only word for it is shattering. I think that's the only word for it. We had no idea that he was struggling with anything. And I can remember the night that he died. The first person I called was my pastor. And I just couldn't handle it. I totally, when I got there, I wanted to go see him because it's like, he needs me, right? But it was too late. And I locked myself in the car and I just beat my hands until they were bruised and screamed at the top of my lungs until I got it all out for the moment, because it still happens. And then I actually got this real calm, like 30 seconds of this voice that just said, "This shall not be in vain." And my daughter, a couple of friends, and our family, my husband and I, actually founded the Mitchell Hash Foundation. So you can just imagine, I know your son's only 19 months. In 28 years, all I can say is, thank God I had those 28 years. And I will tell you that can change your life completely. Although I would give back to the community in many other ways, this became a passion that I knew it would not. I needed to follow that voice that was telling me, this shall not be in vain. So,
God speaking to you?
Yes, if you will, because that's what I believe.
Me too.
Good. And so we came up with our taglines and everything. And during this period of time, I spent a lot of time in the Bible, and studying, and because that was the only way I could keep my sanity. And so, if you go to themitchellhashfoundation.com, just go straight to the Facebook page. So we don't even have a static website, but we post all kinds of things, such as traumatic brain injury information. You know, TBI can cause suicide. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, can cause suicide. And these are things that you can get. And I can remember 3 instances where Mitchell could have had a TBI, but it went undiagnosed. So things like that.
Was that from his time in the Marines?
And that one was, but the other 2 were once before high school and once afterwards. So you just never know. And I will tell you, as a parent, constantly looking for the why. And you also have to be very careful about what you say to people and how you say it, because you can actually be a trigger and you're not even knowing it. And so what you don't know is, where are people? People that are sitting in front of you are, you don't know where they've been.
They could be fragile.
You don't know where they've been, and you don't know how they've been feeling. You don't know what tragedy has just happened to them. You don't know what what they're experiencing, what demonic influence they might be under. You just don't know. And so under those circumstances, excuse me, it was very difficult for me and my family to survive. And at the time, we had just pretty much started our real estate team. I was and I needed the support because I couldn't handle it all on my own. I would last for maybe 5 minutes, and then I would go into the grief stage again, and then I'd come back and that kind of thing. So I really did appreciate the team members that we did have at the time. But what we are doing is not only for military, but for right now, for Reboot Recovery is what we're launching here again this year. But it is, but also anyone who's struggling with mental illness. So we also support SPARK, which is the Suicide Prevention Awareness Resource Council, and we're having they're having a walk through Region 10 on the 19th of October. And with Reboot Recovery, though, that's a completely different way of helping people. It is literally a class that goes on for 12 weeks, 2 hours every Tuesday night at the VFW locally on River Road, starting on September 10th. And what we're doing is helping people heal kind of from the inside out. It's those wounds that the military and first responders have that we can't all understand. It's the ones that you can't see that are the most difficult for families and so forth to deal with. They can't even speak it sometimes. They can't tell you what they're feeling. And so what we try to do is help them open up. And we give that support on a class. It's basically it's a curriculum that you go by. But what that does is it gives them new purpose, and it helps them and their families. We don't have childcare yet, but that is something that spouses and so forth are welcome, parents even, that sort of thing. But it is from a moral wound standpoint. It's from a spiritual wound standpoint, because like I say, when boot camp hits you, it's like, they tell you park your mama and park your religion at the door, because we're going to break you down to build you up into a different person. Well, they build you up into a different person as a person who is a part of a very tight-knit group, and they can trust everyone that's in their squadron or whatever. They come home.
And that group's not there.
That group is not there anymore. Even their family can't take the place of that group. And so what we try to do is create a small community again that would help them, and we have socials and things of that nature. But rebootrecovery.com is where you can actually go to join this. So if you've had any kind of trauma, quite frankly, because this works with any kind of trauma. Anybody who has, it could be somebody that's been gang raped. It could be, which we've helped. It could be somebody who's just feeling suicidal because they've suffered with depression all their lives. Or it could be from a TBI or CTE or any of those number of things. This is a good program that works. Every person who has ever graduated from Reboot Recovery they keep in touch with this was Jenny Owens and who wrote the curriculum. They keep in touch, and they have figured out that there is a 0 suicide rate from these graduates. 0. That is phenomenal.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So these are the things that the Mitchell Hash Foundation, we do other things. My husband is the president of the Men's Baseball League in Charlottesville, which is, he has a fun time with these guys. And they're from 18 years and older. So there are groups that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s that still play baseball. Well, he does an annual baseball tournament. We're doing it in Richmond this year, and he's going to throw out the first pitch at the Squirrels Baseball Stadium, and he is. And it is a part of the Mitchell Hash Foundation. That's part of the way how we raise money to do these other things. Okay.
Sure.
Find Homes team pays for a lot of these things as my earnings, as well as so Spark, Reboot, Recovery, and Mitchell Hash Foundation. But with the Mitchell Hash Foundation, they wear these wristbands. We have white ones, and they wear them different age groups for the baseball. And so my husband has tons of trophies and things like that. It's his passion. So that's how he supports our passion with the Mitchell Hash Foundation. So with that, we also have, you can go to donate to MHF.com, and that's where you can donate to help our suicide prevention and awareness programs.
You're getting incredible amounts of positive commentary. Sharon Gentry Robinson, thank you for sharing your personal story, Cynthia. Roger Voinze is watching. Ray Cadell, Cynthia is, of course, a colleague, lives on my street, a very special family. Kath Myers, you go, Cynthia. Brittany, your colleague, your testimony saved my life, and Mitch did not leave in vain. Michael Whitlock, Mitchell was a great Marine. He will be missed. G.R. Falls, bless you, Cynthia. Welcome to the program, Michael Guthrie. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams that you're watching. Janet Knight, welcome to the show. Mark Wogman, Catherine Matthews, the owner of Iron Poffles and Coffee. Dan Pettit of Real Estate 3, very authentic person, Cynthia is. I can't imagine. Your strength is admirable through God. How did you get to the point where you could first talk about what transpired with your son's death? How long did that take?
It didn't, to be honest with you, that was the way I healed. And there's always going to be that wound. There's all, but the way I heal, and this is part of what Reboot does, is to try and bring that out of you. And so because I know that's the way I was able to heal, this is what I want to help other people do, is to heal by not isolating yourself. Heal by talking about it. And from the other end of things, while you're listening to someone who has gone through a trauma of any sort, just listen. Just be there and listen. You don't have to have commentary. You don't have to have the answers. Just listen. And that's part of what we do. I've actually, in talking about it, that's when I truly realized that raising that awareness was so important. Because I took classes at Region 10 so that I would know, what did I miss? And babe, you talk about beating yourself up. I did so much of that because I was like, we were so close. What happened? And so we, all this that has come about is by God's grace. And speaking of which, I'm supposed to be doing WINA is helping me, but I'm supposed to be doing a little show on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock for about a half an hour. And that is to help other people, to let them tell their story as to from where they were so deep that they would want to take their own lives. So deep. To where, by God's grace, where are they now? And so, and this is part of what we do as far as lifting the stigma. We've got to do that. We have to lift that stigma. We have to erase that shame, because it seems like what you do is from that, if you have any kind of mental illness or anything that's making you feel suicidal, I think society has a tendency to judge the whole person just because there might be something wrong here as to the way they're thinking or what's attacking them. And it could be, and quite frankly, alcohol, drugs, all these addictions, it's a mental illness. And when you take depressants like alcohol, it does nothing but make it worse. And so, and a lot of people do self-medicate with these substances. And so I'm very, very much passionate about that as well. So we try to be aware, okay? I'm not somebody that's got all the answers, believe me. And we also try to help them find their purpose, and we also try to share hope with them. And in some way, shape, or form, if we stop one suicide, then we've done what we're here for.
This hits close to home for me. My best friend all throughout adolescence, middle school, high school, and into college, he committed suicide. Mm-hmm. And I often, even to this day, ask, why? Yeah. And I go through this gambit of emotions of, remembering the good times with him, of anger, of frustration, of guilt, of asking God bless you. What could I have done differently?
It's okay.
Yeah. And I struggle with the anger piece because it impacted so many of us, his family, all of us, his brothers, his friends. Mm-hmm. And I'm frustrated with myself because I'm angry at him. Mm. And that's a selfish feeling. But it's a feeling I got. Mm-hmm. I just...
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is huge. That's part of what Reboot does. That's part of what we do as Christians. Forgiveness. And you can forgive yourself for feeling that way, because that's normal. If somebody had said to me, here's an extra casket, guess who would have joined him? I'm not kidding you. In a heartbeat, I would have joined him. But I was also mad at him.
Right.
I was also mad at God. I was mad at myself. That anger, though, is something that he put inwards towards himself. And that's what we try to help to prevent. I've even heard when people, you know how you can call people on Facebook? I had a call where someone called and long story short, I literally heard a gunshot on Facebook. Literally. And you talk about, well, thank goodness I had been talking to her. I had already called someone she knew, and because I was on, feverishly trying to find out who she knew and how could I get in touch with them, and because she wouldn't let me hang up, and so I did, and they called 911, and they got there at the same time that 911 did, and thank the Lord she didn't know how to work a pistol. But that's part of what Region 10 can also do is, they have locks that are for you. They will give them to you. It's a lock and talk kind of situation, which was great. A friend of mine, Becky, created that. It's an amazing way of being able to talk safety. Unfortunately, a Marine knows how to work a gun. And so in Mitchell's case, that was the fatal wound. But thank God this person, I've kept in touch with them, is doing well, and they have a child, and they're medicated. But their trigger point was alcohol. That was it.
My friend's was drugs. So this story it's close to home. Mary Woodruff Winkler, you are strong and admirable. Layla Baguette Bear says, you're making a difference. You go, Cynthia. Give it a like, give it a share. If you'd like to relay any perspective to Cynthia, put it in the comment section, and I'm happy to do that. Hello, Tom Powell. Thank you for joining us on the program. Hello, Larry Rhodes. Thank you for joining us on the show. How about legacy for Mitchell?
I think that
Because his legacy lives here.
legacy lives, yes, and that's part. As parents, typically the first thing that you want to do is don't let anyone forget my child. Don't let anyone forget them, because you can't. And so that's the legacy. And also helping others. If we can, I can tell you at his funeral, there was standing room only. There were people that came all the way from the West Coast just for his funeral. There were people in the next room. They couldn't even see the podium and the pastor. They were just jammed packed like sardines. They were standing outside the door. They wouldn't even let them in. Fire marshal wouldn't let them in. And so these are things that, if honest to Pete, let me just tell you something. If you ever have suicidal thoughts, they're real. It's an evil, possessive kind of thought. Don't embrace it. Make sure you tell someone, and make sure that person, tell more than one person if you can. There's an app called it's called my3app.org, or hold on a second, I'll have to check it up.
I'll find it.
And what it is so that you can actually get a hold of at least 3 people who you'll be able to talk when you're having those moments, and talk to them, buzz them, whatever you can do, and don't give up on yourself. I will tell you that one thing that there was this young lady who attempted suicide, who came to us, and we helped her with her therapy bills, and she actually has. I told her she used to cut and all these things, and finally I said to her after 2 hours of meeting with her, I said, "Honey, tell me something. If there were 10 people in this room right now, and I asked you to give them each a razor blade and tell them you must cut yourself right now, okay? What would you do? How would you react?" Her immediate reaction was, "Oh my gosh, I would never do that." And I said, "Next step for you is to look in the mirror and say the same thing. If you would not murder someone else, then don't murder yourself." So it's easier said than done. I know this because you struggled. But this is what we're built as a community. We're supposed to be a community. When we have all these ways of getting in touch with people that have nothing to do with that touch, that flesh to flesh, that hand holding, that being with them, we have so many ways to get in touch with them. The bullying, like JoJo was talking about, she does Albemarle a chapter for anti-bullying, and I must say, those are when you're bashing someone, you are doing nothing but feeding that demonic spirit of them thinking about suicide.
Hopelessness.
It's just a flat, yes, it's absolutely
And that's
hopeless.
a dark feeling.
It's such a dark feeling.
It's like quicksand, emotional quicksand.
It is. It is. And I don't know that we'll ever, completely stop suicide, but that's a lofty goal. And I know that there's plenty of other agencies and things like that out there that are wonderful programs, and we support some of them. But I will say, once you start losing that hope, therein lies that beginning of the quicksand. So please reach out to someone, and I will tell you, if you're the person that's being reached out to, make sure that if they're in an emergency situation, you call 911. If they're in an emergency situation, you know that they're at that brink, and take them seriously. Tell people. Tell people. That's what I did that another time where someone contacted me through the Facebook page, and they were under a bridge in a northern state, and they were about to jump off. They had parked their car, getting ready to get out, getting ready to take that climb and just jump off the bridge. And I was able to find someone that they knew on Facebook. They contacted them while we were talking on that page. And honest to Pete, that person is still around today, and it is so good to know that. I actually asked her, because I could hear something in the background. I actually asked this person. I said, "I can hear something in the background. Is someone with you?" And she said, "No, it's my 2 dogs." Right there, I said, "Oh my goodness, do me a favor. You take their little precious little faces in your hands, and you tell them, 'Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere,' because they need you." So give that hope. Sometimes it only takes a little bit of calling you back off that edge. Other times, yes, you'd still need to get clinical assistance. You still may need to be in therapy. You still may need to have a prescription. But guess what? That's okay. I have a prescription for osteoarthritis. That's okay. I'm not being judged, So don't judge anybody else in that regard.
Brittany, your colleague, puts in the chat box, it's my3app.org, the number 3, MY, the number 3, app.org. Thank you, Brittany. Terry Shelton says, "I absolutely love you, Cindy." Give it a like and a share. Relay her some commentary. How have you seen, your grief evolve or transform?
I think if something has changed dramatically, I guess it would be the fact that I'm not afraid to talk about it, obviously, and part of that is the fact that if I don't talk about it, I don't feel as though I'm healing. I don't, because healing can come from helping somebody else. The grief portion of it changed from a literally your whole body. I mean, I just can't describe it. My husband actually described it in a way. He literally fell out of bed, because he had no strength whatsoever. Just fell out of bed on all fours, and I think God gave him a glimpse of what that actually felt like, what our son actually thought before he took that terrible plunge. And it made my husband realize I now know just a modicum of what his pain was. It is physical pain. Grief can be physical pain. Depression can feel physical. It can come out in a physical way. And so the transformation from that type of all-encompassing grief has come to a point where it's manageable. And sometimes it just comes off in a switch, and you just go, oh my goodness, and it just, the floodgates open again. Now it's more, I can control it more, but it's been 4 years, and sometimes it feels like 4 days ago, sometimes it feels like 40 years ago. Sometimes I settle it somehow in my own brain that maybe he's just on deployment, kind of thing. But deployment in heaven, and I'll see him again one day. And so things like that. You figure out what coping mechanisms you need, and some of it happens to be that you'll catch me in a bad mood, and you'll wonder why. And sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's the pressure, because I've also taken, even though I've kind of been a workaholic most of my life, at the same time, this has been able to help my real estate business actually pay it forward in some way.
What do you mean by that?
By helping people in by the money that I earn, my husband, I just let him take care of the bank account so that I can do these other things. And so I trust, him. I trust my daughter explicitly. April's fantastic. I don't know what I would do without her. Is
that April?
Mm-hmm.
She's watching now. She says, "I love you, Mom."
Love you too. And I know that she's been through a lot, because her daughter was only a year old when this happened. And it was only the next, it was like a week or two later that her birthday party, we still had to have her birthday party because she didn't know any better, And we still talk about him on occasion. And she says she misses Uncle Mitch, because he would have been great with her. And so I guess the biggest thing paying it forward is the fact that I make enough money to tithe the church, and I make enough money to be able to help support, Reboot, Spark, Mitchell Hash Foundation, all with some common goals, with, helping folks, but also at the same time create more of a community kind of situation. It's never was a tremendous amount of, I'm not one that just goes and, I don't hang out at bars, or don't do, that sort of thing. So it has turned into more of a hobby, I guess, that is because I need that outlet in order to know that, again, that this shall not be in vain, literally is coming to fruition. I will say that the Find Homes team at Keller Williams Realty has been very wonderful. I want to help teach them and how to be help to be successful as well in real estate. And each one of their business cards, they have their choice of they're not a nonprofit that they like to support, that on the back of their business cards.
That's awesome.
So it creates a paying it forward type of situation and helping people with being successful if they can be, and if they're going to, and not just training them, but just kind of mentoring, in a way. So hopefully that helps them as well. So shout out for you guys.
I'll relay some of the commentary from the folks that are watching. Freddie Jackson, who we've had on the show from the Love No Ego Foundation, he's amazing.
He is.
He says, "I love you, Cynthia." Chip In, which is a nonprofit, I believe,
Yeah, that's
in New Jersey. Proud to be working with such a great organization. Cameron Gray says, "Cynthia, you're a great woman, a great entrepreneur, such a strong woman, such a strong family." Denise Jackson, "Cynthia, you're amazing." Adolph Martinez, "We love you, Nina." Debbie Perez Reyes, "Thank you for all you do, Cindy." Put any commentary that you'd like in the Facebook comment section. I will relay to her. Ted Norris, thank you for joining us at Maya Restaurant. Christopher Eagle, Real Estate 3 here. A lot of folks at Keller Williams watching right now. Have you seen any instances over the last 4 years where you feel Mitchell is communicating or touching your life from heaven?
Oh my, that's very interesting. I know that when this first happened, you just it's surreal, and you're just in a very dark place for a long time. But with God's help, we were able to bridge that with so many caring people at our church and so forth, and I really do appreciate those folks. I mean, they found out because we called our pastor, Pastor Bear, and he made a beeline to where we were, and so, and I can tell you through that, it went on to the prayer chain because I was like, yes, and we could feel those prayers. We could truly feel them, and the during that whole process of just, I mean, it's such a terrible thing to have to worry about the details of a funeral or the, whatever. It's just, your head's not even in it. But I will tell you, God planted people. The funeral director, for instance, he rolled up his sleeve and there was a scripture, that he'd had tattooed, and he was able to help. He knew that things were, we were in, it took 2 limousines to get us there, that kind of thing. So he recognized, he understood, and he handled things perfectly. And he now has his own funeral home. It was something that he had wanted to do, and we just prayed for him, and it took him about 3 years, I think. And I'm like, you go, and I don't know, but it just warmed my heart when I found out that he finally opened up that funeral home. And so, and I will tell you that there was, we had family at church who sang beautifully, and they sang "Go Rest High on That Mountain" by Vince Gill. We asked them to sing that at the funeral parlor, at the funeral home, actually at the burial ground, and so they had a tent, and that tent was, it was a beautiful day, sunny and so forth, but during that song, they could barely keep from crying, but they did a wonderful job, and when that one verse was, "You're no stranger to the rain," in an instant, rain started. No clouds. Rain started. There were large drops, and the lead singer stuck their hands out at the just enough to fill it up with a couple of raindrops, and pulled his hand back in to his heart. And at that instant, the rain stopped. Little miracles that you see, that God is showing you how you can get through this grief.
And his spirit will live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. That wasn't even an answer to your question,
That was
was
a
it?
great answer. It was an amazing answer. Seems like he was incredibly loved.
He was.
So well liked.
Oh, he was funny. Oh, my goodness. There wasn't a room that he wouldn't walk into that he wouldn't have somebody cracking up in about 5 minutes. He had a gift. He really had a gift. And he was also the type of, there was people that were coming to the funeral parlor, and I'm like, oh my, like one of his childhood classmates. And he came here from Burma, and he came up to me. He could barely speak without just bawling. And he said, Mama Hash, he said, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but Mitchell literally was the only person in our class that gave me the time of day when I first came to this country. So that was the kind of things that he would do. He was always for the underdog, always helping the underdog. And it just, he could do impressions and things like that. So, yep. And he was always keeping his little sister in stitches. So it kind of reminds me like a little bit of like Robin Williams, where he's always worried about keeping everybody else in stitches. And I was wondering, how long, but don't think of it this way. Not everybody that's funny is suffering from depression or, having some sort of brain injury or, whatever. Not everybody that's funny has mental illness, so don't get me wrong. But he was that kind of guy. He could just keep everybody rolling, and he was also very pretty black and white as far as where the lines were drawn as to right and wrong, and that was another thing that really affected me deeply. Is I also think that that Christians have a hard time with it because it's like, hey, all you need is Jesus. And, I agree, that's what you need, but you may also need clinical help or, prescriptions or whatever. It's like you can't take somebody that's having a heart attack and say, all you need is Jesus. They need to give them some aspirin and get them on get them to the hospital, that kind of thing. And let God work through the people that have that profession in health and healing.
Kevin Higgins says, God put his hands out in the same way to bring your son home. Keith Smith says, you're a first-class human. And I agree. Why don't we close on this note here? I want to give you an opportunity to drive awareness for the Mitchell Hash Foundation and its outlets and how we can get involved and engage and donate and support and volunteer. But close with this topic of the precious nature that is life.
So you can go to mitchellhashfoundation.com. Please like, share, comment, whatever. There's just a lot of good stuff. It's from a human aspect and not just from one aspect. There's a lot of aspects in regards to suicide. So please do that. Also, you can go to donate to mhf.com to help our fundraising for all these good programs. Also, if you need that community, if you need the what Reboot Recovery can bring to you, as if you're part of the military family or first responders, or if you've suffered a trauma, go to rebootrecovery.com and you can join what we are launching on September 10th from 6 to 8. It will be every Tuesday for 12 Tuesdays, and it will be at the VFW on River Road. So we hope to get you there. I'll look up Spark, make sure I didn't make a mistake on that. I think it's October 19th it's sparkhope.org. It's called SPARC, sparkhope.org. And you can go there and join a team, join the Mitchell Hash Foundation team. And we'll be doing a walk there through Region 10. And there's trying to raise money for Region 10, and because that's really our only facility that specializes in that in mental illness and so forth. So go there and support. You can donate to Spark there as well, and so those are. The passions and related type of passions, and as far as your final question, which is the human factor of all this, you feel as though sometimes you can't live with the people that are in your life that are toxic. Okay. If they are toxic and you are starting to feel those kinds of thoughts, and you are, I'm not good enough kind of feelings, look around you and make sure, don't be afraid of that person who's toxic, because that person could very well be your trigger, and you do not want to ruin somebody's family. You just don't. Please make sure that you are around people that are positive thinkers for the most part. But if you're around people that are also not feeling good, also feeling bad about themselves, you be that positive. You be that person who lifts them up. Be that person who's going to help them get over that hump. Don't be that person that pushes them over the hump. Pull them back this way to the hump, over the hump. Different way. Wrong side. Pull them over. You don't have to be their best friend the rest of their lives. You can be just a friend. And that My3 app is a good way to do that if you're feeling. But the human element of all of this is just to, I love your logo. I love Charlottesville. Well, just look at the heart, okay? It's a odd shaped thing. It has nothing to do with what our heart is really here, okay? Think of it that way too. Yes, our heart beats, but it doesn't have thoughts. Our heart is up here. So translate that into the full human being, and don't judge if someone is having those thoughts. They're having those thoughts for a reason. It could be a chemical imbalance. It could be they're in a toxic relationship. Brittany with Silence Unchained. It's that's another great nonprofit. So keep that in mind, and be human. Be who you are, but love, and that's all you can do. And I can tell you, our daughter had twins as well 2.5 years ago, and I was in real estate, and I had this house that I had up for sale, and I was like, I went to bed and I'm like, Lord, I know that you made me a good realtor, but you haven't sold this house for me. I need that buyer. I woke up the next morning and the thought was, you're the buyer. So I went to the owner. Didn't even go to my family first. But we ended up we bought it. We ended up building an addition, and that's where we are right now. We are there to support our daughter, because a lot of times that shattering effect of grief will separate families and divide families, and it really can be bad. Instead, we just pulled even closer together. And when you mentioned Adolfo, he's our son-in-law, and it pulled closer together. So I thank God that she was with someone who would agree to do something like that, so that we could be very. The bonding of that is and family can be many people around you. You can have your church family, you can have your blood family, you can have your in-law families, you can have all that kind of stuff. Stop being petty. Okay? I mean, that's one of the things that Mitchell complained about when he came home from the Marine Corps. He was like, it's so petty. They don't know what a problem is. And it's just petty. It's so bigger picture. Perspective. Love that human, and that's I guess the best way to answer the question that you just asked. I'm not sure if it is.
You answered it really well.
Thanks.
Really, really well.
You asked good questions.
Thank you. You brought us a bag.
I did, yes.
We're going to add this to our shelf of fame here. I think it's important to visit in April. Put this in the feed. I'm going to emphasize it again. Rebootrecovery.com, sparkhope.org, also the mitchellhashfoundation.com. Keith is watching in Seattle. He's a Marine himself.
Hi, Keith.
And he said, I'm sitting on a plane in Seattle next to 2 Marines. We're listening to you guys. All 3 of us are in tears.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you. There's a card in there that I would like to read.
Okay.
It's the other one, the smaller one that has a wristband on it. Yeah, there you go. So this was written by a friend of mine who became a friend of mine, Missy, okay? You can go to mylifematters.info. It will take you to the Mitchell Hash Foundation page. But we give these out to high schoolers and middle schoolers and so forth, as well as anybody that will take them. It says, with this wristband, I promise to tell someone if I'm hurting, talk to God if I'm lonely, reach out and tell someone that they matter to me. And above all, I will not hurt me. That's for you.
Thank you. David, is that your husband?
Yes.
He says, I love you, Cynthia.
Oh, thanks, hon.
Cassie Cooley, you are an amazing person.
Thanks, Cassie.
I'm so blessed to know you and to have you in my life. Oh, man, Cynthia, you've been amazing today.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Your
There's a picture of Mitchell on that one.
Your authenticity and courage and you're just so authentic and courageous and so heartfelt.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
I mean that.
I don't.
I mean that. I mean that. We're going to archive this show in totality on ilovecville.com. I think it's been one of the best we've ever done. ilovecville.com for the show. We'll turn it into an iTunes podcast. We close the program the same way every time, and I think it's fitting following this interview and also on today being the 2-year anniversary of August 12th. And every time we close the program with the same message, and that's the golden rule. We ask all folks that are watching and encourage them and just put this out in the ecosystem to treat others how you want to be treated yourself. It's the golden rule. It is a simple concept, but oftentimes a difficult concept to live. I think after today's show, and certainly on August 12th, and just where we are as a country, I think the golden rule is needed more than ever. I'm truly grateful for Cynthia for joining us on the program today. It was just amazing show. We will see you tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on the I Love CVille Show. Give those closer to you in your life. Give your loved ones a hug, okay? Take care, guys.
Awesome.